You know, the Minnesota North Stars 1981 Stanley Cup run were stopped in their tracks immediately by the New York Islanders in a tough final series. But it was their mixture of offense and defense that got them there, including Dino Ciccarelli, Bobby Smith, and some unheralded and 1 and 2 year wonders that really helped out the squad, including Team Canada stalwart and later AHL and CHL star Kevin Maxwell. So today we're going to be talking about the player that we always thought was going to be a superstar, but unfortunately factors didn't work in his favor. But for that 81 season, especially in the playoff run, high hopes led to inconsistent results later on in the NHL, but a strong AHL and CHL career. Now, Kevin Maxwell would be best to be described as probably one of the most underrated defensive centers of his generation. Now, born in Edmonton, Alberta, March 30th, 1960, you wouldn't think someone center 5'9", 165 could be most well known for his defensive play, but he showed great promise. Now, he first came to major prominence, of all things, with the Penticton V's. Now, Penticton was known for its rugged players, but being a BCA CJHL squad, it wasn't major junior, but he had put up some really impressive numbers. In 2 campaigns, he had over 260 points, 63 goals in 77, 53 goals in 78. Now, he graduated literally to North Dakota of the WCHA in 79, where he had 31 goals in 42 games. He was the NCAA West All-America First Team in 79, the WCHA Rookie of the Year in 79. He made All-Star First Team for the WCHA, and he broke North Dakota records for most points by a freshman and most assists by a freshman in that campaign. Now, he did lead Penticton in points in 1977 with 145, which drew a lot of interest. Now, he majored in communications during his 1 year at University of North Dakota, a very learned guy. Now, he was on high on the eyesight for many scouts, but Minnesota eventually took him 63rd overall in the 1979 draft, a very deep draft. Now, he decided to represent Canada towards the 1980 Olympics, and he put up some really impressive numbers. He helped Team Canada to a 6th place finish at the international event, and for the full 1980 campaign, he had 82 points in 57 games, including 31 goals. Now, 81, he spent the majority of the first part of the season with the Oklahoma City Stars, but a late season call-up really drew him into major prominence. He had 7 points in 16 playoff games towards the Stars' near Stanley Cup run, 3 goals and 4 assists. Now, a lot of people thought in the 82 season he would find himself a big part of Minnesota, but found himself in Colorado after the first half of the season with 10 points in 34 games. 83, he found himself in the minors with a Wichita win, 65 points in 68 games, and for the next 3 seasons played a big part of the Maine Mariners program. Over 3 campaigns, he averaged 20 goals in 50 games, did play his last NHL games with New Jersey in 84 with 3 assists. Now, 87 and 88, he found himself with the Hershey Bears, and his last AHL season was his best as a pro, with 85 points in 77 games, including 36 goals. Now, that Team Canada squad, which also included Glenn Anderson and other key players, came within an inch of beating the Russians in the preliminary round. He had 5 points in 6 games. Now, with Maxwell, he got his big debut, ironically, against his hometown Oilers on March 20th, 81. Now, full NHL totals, 6 goals and 15 assists for 21 points in 66 career games, but again, there were 7 points in 16 contests. Now, after hockey, he was named Philadelphia's Pro Scout prior to the 89 season and remained there with the team until 91. He was then named the Islanders Pro Scout prior to the 97 season and lasted for the rest of the season. He was also Dallas's Pro Scout on July 26, 2006 for the remainder of that 06-07 campaign. He was also Director of Pro Scouting for Hartford for the 92-93 season. Was also director of player personnel for them from 83 to 94. Now, he was Hartford's director of scouting for July of 94 and was there for the majority of the 95 season. He was named Hartford's director of pro scouting prior to the 96 campaign and remained there for the season. As well, he was the honors assistant director of pro scouting prior to the 98 season and remained there until 2006. Now, why Maxwell was such a high scout, he was kind of using some of the tools that were used to recruit him for Team Canada and for the NCAA and the BCHL program. A lot of people published saying that Maxwell's short career in the NHL didn't really show all his promise of being a NHL thinker, and that's what he was. Now, he had some nagging injuries in his career. He missed part of the 81 playoffs with back pain and missed a good majority of the 82 season with a back injury, requiring surgery in October 81, and with a groin strain, suffered in December 81. Now, when the team in Colorado relocated to New Jersey, again, it took him a few games to play in a Devils uniform, but he eventually became an unrestricted free agent on June 30th, 86, signed with Philadelphia, but never played with them, but later, being a scout. Now, he won a Calder Cup with Maine and Hershey. Again, we talked about his success, hometown hero side, two of the best AHL teams in the 1980s he played on. And don't forget, Hershey won the regular season title in 81. Now, from a coaching standpoint, he's also been behind the bench. He was Brandon's head coach from November 11th, 91 until July 7th, 92 of the WHL. Now, he also played on the Minnesota team that competed in Sweden's 1980 DN Cup tournament and led all players with 8 penalty minutes. Now, more injuries again. Broken thumb in 1981, and he also missed part of the 87 season with a knee injury. Now, the fact of how he got away from Minnesota, Jim Dobson were sold. Him and Jim Dobson were sold to Colorado on New Year's Eve, 1981. Not the best time to get into the new year. Now, again, if you can find the YouTubes of that Minnesota Islander series, Maxwell was a factor because he could play in the big rink and the small rink, and you see his good work with Team Canada, especially in that the Olympic series. Man, the guy had skill, but I don't know why he couldn't bring that scoring touch into the NHL with him. He could score in the minor leagues. I mean, you look at 24 goals with Wichita in 83, 21 with Maine in 84, 25 with Maine in 85, and then the big 36 with Hershey. And what really can't be taken away, again, the Calder Cup titles as well. We always knew he was going to have a championship title, but it wasn't his fault that Team Canada finished 6th at the Olympics in 86. We were talking of the possibility of the first Team Canada medal in more than a decade, but it just the factors of their grouping worked against him. And the game against Russia could have easily been Team Canada's. Now, did we soften them up for the Americans? I think so, but I'll leave that to the midst of time. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's a story of Kevin Maxwell, one of the best players to ever come from the BCHL in the late 70s, early 80s, and again, to be drafted directly from university right out of the BCHL is quite a tribute to him. Thanks for listening. Bye.